Hello out there, and welcome to another episode of Thank You for Coming. I am your host, Mike Carr, and I am very excited to be here for another week. I missed you last week. Wasn't able to do the show last week, so I took the week off, but I know 2MB Studios still rolls on because that's what they do. They're amazing. Big shout out to 2MB Studios, to Ben, Matt, and Rachel, who work so hard to make this channel the best it can be and put up great programming for all sorts of different programming. There's improv, there's sketch, there was poetry today from the 3 weeks courses class. So much amazing stuff happening on 2MB Studios. So if you're not tuning in, you're missing out on amazing shows. But if you're here, I would love to hear from you. So please feel free to throw some comments up in the chat. Let us know you're watching, if you're watching, because we're an interactive show. This show is improvised, so we need interaction from our audience. Otherwise, it's just me talking. And it's just our improvisers without suggestions. So we need your help. So we're going to ask you for suggestions a couple times during the show. So if you're just joining the show for the first time, this is Thank You for Coming, where improvisers who have never met or worked together come to play on the stage together. And the stage, of course, is this virtual platform. They get to know each other a little bit. Then we do a scene. And then that's the show. Tonight might be a little bit different. And I'll explain why in a minute, because it looks like, well, unfortunately, one of the guests isn't here. I know, it's crazy. One of the guests isn't here. But that means we're going to have to improvise and adapt to make the show work. And that's okay with me, because that means I am going to step into the role of the improviser, and I'm going to play with my other guest, who I have worked with before, but not in a purely improvised show. So we'll probably talk a little bit about that experience at some point. But I'm going to bring out my guest because it's time for us to get started. So I'm going to bring out Cheryl Singleton. Hi, Cheryl.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. Great. We got some people tuning in the Twitch. They're saying hello. You said this is your first time on the Twitch, right?
It is my first time on the Twitch.
Unacceptable. We need to get you on Twitch more.
It's true. You know, I sort of feel like, what is this Twitch thing these kids are talking about? That now
I feel the same way. I have a Twitch account, and I only use it to watch 2MB Studios shows. And then I have friends that my nephews, I told them I was on Twitch, and they were like, "Oh, you got to watch this." So I looked at it, and it was just a person who plays a video game, and I guess you just watch people play video games. And it was fun, actually. I have to admit, I enjoyed it.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. So Cheryl, what is new in your world? It's been a while since we've talked. So let's take a minute to kind of catch up and chat. So what's new in your world? Yeah.
What's new? Well, since I'm trying to think if I had moved, I'm in JP again, which is
very nice.
Weird. And I live with someone who's very much into sustainability.
Ooh,
so that's
what?
Like there's a compost thing that's next to the sink, and there are certain things that you don't use in the house, and so that's a new experience. That's very much in it. Like, oh, okay, can I use that cleaner here? Where's that bin? I'm really not sure. So there's that. Still doing my kids show on Zoom on Wednesdays. That's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Still doing that. And just having different reactions to new strains and things like that. And yeah. It's interesting to see how things hit you when you don't expect.
Yeah, exactly. I love that you mentioned compost, because that's something we started doing here. There's Julie found a place called Orlando Compost, I think is what it's called. And they send you there's a bucket that we put old food in, and then they give us a bucket of like compost that we are using in a garden that we're making. That I say we're making. I'm not a part of that equation. Julie's doing all the work.
Yeah. No, we have a big thing in the basement that has like 3 levels and a spout, and there are worms, and you have to drain it. And yeah, I just go down and put stuff in it and try not to hurt the worms.
Yeah, that's oh wow. So you're not. Yeah, we just put it in a bucket and they take it away and do all the work. You're actually you're like compost heaven right there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but heaven may not be the right word. But it is what it is. Well, that's awesome. Cool. Yeah. So
what about you?
had me. Oh boy, what's going on with me? I usually don't talk about me on the show. I usually just talk about the guests. So, and now that I'm an accidental guest on my own show, things are good. Julie and I moved back to Orlando, and we're doing homeowner stuff, which is new for us. Like we're doing a garden, like I just mentioned, but we're also like fixing up our yard. Like I mow my lawn every couple of weeks, and that's funny. Like I never thought I'd be that guy, but I really like it. I like mowing my lawn. It's relaxing.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. If you're in the Twitch chat, please tell us what we talk about composting and lawn mowing. What are some ordinary things that you've done that you find relaxing, or that you do, or new things you've learned during the quarantine, things you didn't do before? Share us in the Twitch chat. We want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, just trying to stay afloat, I think, is the best way I can think of it.
Yeah. We're all doing that. We're like treading water, and then we get a good speed, and then we go under for a little bit, and then we come back.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Well, as guest, doing an improvised scene with someone you've never met before.
I'm sorry?
Oh no.
Nope, you're back.
Am I moving again?
Yes.
All right. This is how I'll test if I'm moving. I'll just put my hands toward the camera.
Nice.
So normally I do some icebreaker questions with the guests. So we're going to do that. So I have a couple icebreaker questions here. I'll put the question up and we'll answer it, and then we'll kind of chat. So the first question I found was this one. What was your least favorite food as a child? And do you still hate it, or do you love it now?
Ooh, least favorite food as a child. See, this is hard because I liked most everything. So probably, I never liked liverwurst. Never liked it. And thankfully, we never really had it because I don't think my brother didn't like liver. And people keep telling me now, like, oh, you got to try the real thing. You can't get those deli slices. You got to get the real stuff. And I haven't done that yet because I just can't imagine putting that in. I just hate the taste of it. Now, mind you, I do like chicken livers. I can do a regular, but like liverwurst, something about it.
What is liverwurst? I don't even know what it is.
It's like a sort of a liver pate. That's kind of, then I guess they sort of, I don't know if they put it in a skin or how they do it and slice it up. So when you have it in a sandwich, when you have the deli slices, it's like sliced bologna, basically. But then if you get real stuff, I guess it's more like the pate that you can put on a cracker.
So it gets fancy at a certain point.
It gets fancy. There's this Japanese steamed monkfish liver that I love.
Okay.
But yeah, liverwurst, no.
Yeah. All right. So I'll answer the same question. So as a child, I would have to say my least favorite food as a child was these small. I remember my mom would make meatloaf, and she would have small potatoes that would bake in the tray of the meal, and she'd cover them with a tomato sauce. I remember just thinking it was the most disgusting thing in the world, and I wouldn't eat the potatoes. I would eat everything else, but I'd be like, I wouldn't touch the potatoes, and she'd be like, you have to finish everything on your plate. That was the rule in our house.
And the sauce only went on the potatoes, not the meat?
No, it went on the meat too, but it tasted good on the meat. But for some reason, the potatoes and the tomato-based sauce just didn't gel well for me. And I would eat them, and I remember like gagging of how gross it was. Now I would probably like it. I haven't had those potatoes in years, but the thought of not liking them to me is like, what was wrong with me? Those were probably delicious.
Yeah, I would eat that. I would definitely eat that.
Yeah, I regret the as a kid, the things that I was so against. Like broccoli was one that I was very against, and now I eat broccoli all the time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Oh, it's a snack for me. Like we after the show, I have broccoli and we have a buffalo chicken dip, and I'm going to dip the broccoli in the buffalo chicken dip and eat it, and I can't wait. But I'm very excited about that.
All right, I may have to go get some just to do that. That's
Yep, it's the Trader Joe's buffalo chicken dip is absolutely delicious.
Okay. All right. It's on the list.
Yeah. What do you mean that explains why I'm weird about gnocchi? I'm not weird about gnocchi. I've tried it and I liked it. Oh, because it's potato based and it's tomato. That might explain it. Thank you, Julie. watching from the other room and giving me some feedback on my taste habits.
I had a bad gnocchi experience in Venice.
Oh, in Venice of all places.
In Venice of all places. And we were getting on a train the next day to go to Florence. And that's when the bad experience happened, was on the train.
Oh, no.
So it was the last meal in Venice. And yeah, it was not good. It was like a fish something that, no, put me off gnocchi for years.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I got really sick once on a corned beef and cabbage on New Year's Eve. We made it. It was I was living in Chicago, and my roommates and I made a big corned beef and cabbage dinner, and I must have eaten like one of the bay leaves or something, because I got really sick, and I was just out of commission the next day. And at that point, I had never called in sick to work, and I woke up, and I was supposed to work on New Year's Day because my company was open, and I woke up and I was like, oh, I can't. It was not good. So I called in, and the manager that I got, I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm really sick. And he goes, oh yeah, you're sick. I was like, no, I really am sick. He's like, yeah, a little too much fun last night. I was like, no, I was actually sick from like 11 o'clock on. He did not believe me, but they were cool with it. They were like, yeah, you're not coming in. But I was like, I'm not hungover or currently drunk. I just can't come in.
Oh man. Unfortunately.
And the reason he should have believed me is because that was the year that the Red Sox won the World Series. It was 2004 for the first time. And I did come into work the next day, and my Boston friends and I did not go to sleep that night, but I still showed up to work, and I was like, I'm here. So if I showed up from that, I would have showed up.
I'm hungover and I'm tired and I'm here.
Oh yeah. And they were nice enough to put me on an easy job that day. They're like, just stay over there. You're fine.
Nice.
All right. Next question. All right. This is a would you rather that I always like. Would you rather be able to run at 100 miles per hour or fly at 10 miles per hour?
Fly. I
at
think
10
I'd
miles.
rather
Yeah.
fly. Yeah. I know 10 miles an hour, but damn, like think of what you could see. And you're going slow enough that, you could actually sort of take in the sights,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be my thing. I just like kind of, all right, I'm going to check out this place right now. And I'm going to check out, what's going on over there? Oh, okay, let me go over here. Yeah, definitely. What about you?
Same, 100% same answer. And yeah, because you're 10 miles per hour is fast enough. Because that's plenty fast. I don't need to go any faster than that. Plus, you don't have to stop. You can fly over things, like depending on how high you can go. And also, if you're running at 100 miles per hour, you really are probably not going to see the things that before it's too late. Like you could be running and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a person. And you're not going to have time to get out of the way.
Yeah. There's a turn here.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm disappointed in that question. That was too easy. That question was way too easy.
Okay. Would you rather the city you grew up in to stay as it is, or be put in a bubble and turned into a rainforest?
Okay. So the city I grew up in, stay as it is when I grew up in it, or as it is now?
Oh, your choice.
Okay.
I'm going to make that your choice.
I'm going to say turn it into a rainforest because I think that'll just be better. Would the people who live there now, would they like just now live in a rainforest, or would they have to like get out? This is becoming a rainforest.
Well, I think they'd have. I mean, they might stay in there, but then it's not really going to be a rainforest, is it?
No, they have to be out of there. I would love it actually, because that would mean that I grew up in the town of Wilmington, which is about 10 miles north of Boston.
Okay.
So I think it would be really cool to have a rainforest like right near a major metropolitan city like Boston. I think that would be super cool. So even though I'm not living there right now, I visit all the time. So be like, oh, we're going to go check out the rainforest and just.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, Wilmington, you're gone. You're a rainforest now.
You're a rainforest now. Yeah. Yeah. I think Brooklyn would have to go. As much as I love it, I think it would just have to, it would be interesting though to see the structures in Brooklyn get enveloped by a rainforest.
Oh yeah, because then that allows you for like exploration. And years later, you're like, I'm like, hey, I think I remember there being like a like a Blockbuster Video here or something, and then you
Right.
cut through the building and there it is, and you're like, oh, I don't know why Blockbuster Video was what I picked, but it is.
That's really going back.
It is, but I love Blockbuster Video. So, was that the question that you were going to ask Margaret, or was it a different question you were going to ask?
That is the question I was going to ask.
That's a good question. Awesome. Okay. I don't have one locked and loaded, so I'm going to try to come up with one real quick. Okay, I got one. Just because last night we watched the 4-hour Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League movie that just came out.
Okay.
It's like a full. Originally in theaters it was like 2 hours. The new one's 4 hours. And someone asked a question on that, like if you could make any movie longer because you liked it so much you didn't want it to end, what movie would you make longer?
Okay, that's tough. For some reason, the first movie that comes to mind is Harold and Maude.
Oh.
And I'm not sure how that would work because it's pretty perfect the way it is. But that's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah. Is it because it generates like a really good feeling when you think about it and how much you enjoy it? Or
yeah, I just love. I mean, it would make it harder, I think, because I love those characters so much, and it's hard enough, watching it the way it is. But yeah, I would want to spend some more time with them.
Awesome. That's very cool. Nice. All right. Well, we're going to improvise now. So here's how it's going to work. So in the Twitch chat, we need you to throw up a location, any location where two people would be. So start putting those in the chat, and then we'll pick the one that inspires. We'll pick one randomly that inspires us. So go ahead and throw some locations in the chat for us. And so Cheryl, we didn't really talk about how we talked about doing a scene, but this is how it'll be. So Cheryl and I will do a 2-person scene based on a location that you put in the chat. So wherever you put it, that's where our scene will take place. And the scene has to start with the line, "Thank you for coming." So one of us has to say that line to start our scene.
Excellent.
And then we will just be there. I'm assuming Love the Soundtrack is in reference to the Harold and Maude.
It's a good one.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know where that is as a location, but that probably is a great soundtrack. So yeah, go ahead and start populating those in. Cheryl, while we're waiting for some suggestions to come in, can you tell us a little bit about the children's show that you do on Zoom? Can you tell us a little bit about that? That'd be great to hear about.
So it's a children's sort of basic music show, and it's called Emma's Musical Menagerie. Actually, we have a YouTube channel now, so there's some videos up there. And it started with my old roommates. My roommate Emma works for Rock and Roll Daycare, and then they put her in touch with a school, and so she started doing a thing just with this school. And then my other roommate at the time, Gabe, then Emma was like, I want to do my own thing, and Gabe and I started doing it with her. So it's puppets and it's music and it's basic sort of building blocks of music, like, what's a tempo and what's andante and what's staccato and what's all these different things. So we have our first two figures were an emu named George Herbert, he's Australian, and then Ryan the Shy Lion, who is Tanzanian, and of course they're back home now because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And we have a few other characters in there that we've brought in over the months, and it's just fun. It's just, we write the scripts every week and try and figure out what we haven't done in a while with the kids, and get them learning sort of basic elements of music.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, and we throw in stuff for adults so that the adults aren't bored.
I love that about a lot of children's shows that I remember watching when I was a kid, and then realizing, and like when I got older, oh, these were clearly written by adults for kids, but also for adults, which I really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun to see the adults like have those moments and just totally lose it.
Yeah. And the kids are like, what are you laughing at? Oh, no. All right. Well, Cheryl has stepped away for a minute. She's going to come back. I know she's going to come back. So in the meantime, I'd like to see a couple suggestions, because I'm just going to, you know what? I'm going to improvise a scene by myself if I have to. I'm not afraid. So I need a location. So if you're in the Twitch chat, give me a location or ask me a question. That's what we're going to do. So if you're in the Twitch, you can throw out a location or throw out a question. Either way, we're going to get going in just a second. So thank you for your patience, everyone. And I believe, oh, you look, it's so different.
Yes, well, now I'm on my phone because apparently my laptop does not cooperate.
I know. All right. Great. So do you need a minute to get oriented or?
No, I think I'm good. Just going to do this.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're back because if you weren't back, I told the Twitch chat that I was going to answer questions or improvise a scene by myself. So I'm really glad you're back. All right. All right. So we've got a couple of places. Let's go here. We're going to go do a scene in Central Park.
In Central Park.
Central Park. All right. So I'm going to pop us both out of the screen and then I'll bring us back in and we'll do our scene in Central Park. And yeah, so I'll see you in just a second.
Excellent.
All right. So Cheryl and I are going to do a scene in Central Park. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course. It's the least I could do. Least I could do.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just I've lived here so long, and I haven't anyone in a long time. No one that I know anyway.
Sorry, can you say that again? I these birds are so loud.
Aren't they? Man, I hate that. Yeah. So you know, it's been a while. I haven't seen anyone that I know in a while, and I've lived here for so long. So it's nice to see you.
Of course, it's crazy. You know, you live here, and I live here, and you know, God, we've known each other for 25 years, and we've lived in the city for 15 of those 25, and we rarely see each other.
So wait, you live in the park too?
Yeah, I'm living over by the Alice in Wonderland statue.
I had no idea.
Yeah, there was.
I'm so jealous. That's a great statue.
It's a really good statue. It's a really good statue, and there's a really nice alcove that I've kind of made my own.
Nice. So do you like? Because I do this sometimes. Do you like talk to them?
The statues? Sometimes, yeah. If I'm in a particular, honestly, sometimes there's people around, and I kind of want to be alone. So I'll start arguing with the statue. Clears the area like nothing.
That's great. I never thought about that. I love that. Yeah, I like to hang out by the carousel. I was living under there in the winter sometimes, because you know it's kind of covered and stepped. But
yeah, I've heard it's got good. Yeah, I've heard it's got some good heat in the winter. Keeps it nice and warm.
Yeah. You know, it's and you know, the rats are kind of friendly, you know, and that's good.
It is.
So it's a little odd being out right now and like saying, hey, people.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little apprehensive, honestly, to even come out today. I almost ghosted you, to be honest. I almost didn't come.
I get that.
And it's not about you. It's not about you. That's about me. That's about what's going on in here and just being, you know, that's about me.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's that hermit thing, isn't it? Like
it really is. You know, you make
a choice.
I was going to say that too. You make a choice to be alone, and then that's the choice. That's it. Like that's on the list of like what you do as a hermit. Number 1, be alone.
Yeah. First thing. And yeah, my family like couldn't understand it. Like I tried to explain to them, you know, I love you all, but this is what I'm going to do. And you know, they tried to come and visit me a few times. Like when I was living over, I was living in the tunnels on the 8 line. And so they tried to come and see me over there, but I told them, it's dangerous, and I really, it's not that I don't love you. I just want to be by myself.
Yeah. See, so they tried to they literally tried to like come visit you in the tunnels.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They would like sneak in at night. They figured out this one turnstile, this one station that they would just sneak in, like I mean, it's open like 4 hours, right? But then they would like slowly make their way down to the end of the platform and just go down the stairs. And I was really afraid that they were going to get one of the trains. But
If you don't know the sounds, like I can tell you when I'm in the subway, I can tell you which train it is based on the rattling. I'm like, oh, that's an F train. I'm getting out of here. I can tell.
okay, my favorite rattle is the G.
Oh, they used to put me to sleep back when I was living on 42nd.
So good, so good. Just that nice little hum, and then those few wheels that you could tell were older. You just
Brass. Yeah, those wheels were made of brass, and that brass, that's craftsmanship. They don't make trains like that anymore.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No. I got to the museum one day just to see some of the old ones. Man, I could sleep on those seats all night long.
That molded plastic.
But have you tried the straw one?
The what?
Seats, the really old straw seats?
No, I have an allergy to straw, so I kind of stay away.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean, it was when I was a kid. I don't know if it's still there. I used to have a bad straw allergy as a kid. I knew it because actually, funny story. One of my first sort of hermit experience when I realized, hey, I don't want to be around people. My parents took me to this like corn maze, and they were like, they're like, go take a picture with the scarecrow. So I get up to the scarecrow, full of straw. I start sneezing like a maniac. I sneeze so hard, I pee a little. These kids around me start laughing. I freak out. I run into the corn. Like I'm in the middle of the maze, like not in the maze part, the corn part. And I'm like, this feels right. No one around. I got a little hungry. I plucked and shucked, had a little nibble, and I felt great.
That's when you knew.
That's when I knew. I didn't activate it until, after I got my PhD, but I'm still glad I did that.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's hard telling people. It's hard admitting it to yourself.
Oh,
right?
That's the longest part of the journey.
It is. It is, because people think, well, you're antisocial. Well, I mean, I guess, but it's not a reflection of them, really. It's just, and yeah, I knew. I knew when I was in a dark subway car one day.
Oh yeah, what tipped you off? Like what happened?
Well, it was just I was coming home from school, and I mean, New York, you don't think about a dark subway car. It's just what you do. Go into a dark subway car. And I went in and I sat down, and there were only a couple of other people in the car, and no one else got in. Oop. So peaceful. And then when I got out, I was like, I felt totally jarred. So I was like, this is something I need to pay attention to. Like there's something here that speaks to my truth that I need to do. So I started seeking dark subway cars more and more, and then realized that I needed something close to it that I could actually live in. So I started in the caves, actually, in the park. I started in the yeah, something about him just didn't agree with me. Like I like more something.
The caves are the caves. It's like everyone's been in every one of us has lived in the caves for some point of our hermit life, and it's good. It's good for that point in your hermit life where you're alone, but you need a little bit of companionship. Just that that there's a couple other hermits just a few feet away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. No, you're totally right. You're totally right. And to that point where it's like, yeah, this isn't, I've outgrown this.
Hmm.
A little sad. I was a little sad by it, but I came out and I dropped a dime, told my family, I'm out of the caves, but I'm not coming home. Love you all, safe. And that's all they really need.
I love that you called them. That's big. That's a big move to even just call them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they worry. They worry so much. They're so very going to parties and doing this and that and the other. It's just not my thing. Just not my
Not my thing either.
now. But hey, the sun feels good.
Yeah, these birds really loud.
They do taste good though.
Oh, so good. So good.
I roasted and I got a couple of ketchup packets out of the garbage. So good. I'll have to give you the recipe.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great because I'm trying to cook more for myself. That's a big part of my my life. I want to be more. I want to cook for myself because when I go out to get food, I inevitably run into somebody and I'm like, oh no, I don't. I try to put on my. I try to do that, but then they're like, oh, do you need help? And I'm like, I don't need help. I want that sandwich. So can you please just move?
Yeah. Clothes a lot. People don't want to be by me if my clothes really stink. So, or if I just stare at them and not say anything, that's another good deterrent.
Oh, I might have to try that one.
Yeah.
That does sound fun. Well, it has been so good to catch up with you. And I don't know, like this is going to feed my soul for at least 10, 15 weeks. Like I may not even come out of the alcove for 10 to 15 weeks.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you did come. It's good. It's good to connect with like-minded people. And I'd say like for me, it's like every 6 months. I like to do it, so I'm really happy that you came.
Anytime. Well, I'd say not anytime, but
No, but
I could do a 6-month thing.
All right. Well, why don't we meet? But why don't we meet by your place next time? You want to try that?
Okay, yeah, I'll show you the Alice statue. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. All right. So I'll mark it on the wall for 6 months.
I'll just put it in my BlackBerry.
Put us in the right at the end of summer, right into the fall. Yeah. Yeah. You'd have a BlackBerry still.
Yeah, they even turned it off. I don't know why. So I'm still rocking it.
Well, good.
I honestly think they forgot it was still a thing.
Probably. I haven't seen people use them in forever. Yeah. I had to give it up.
That's another good thing. You want people to stay away from you, pull out a BlackBerry.
Yep. Or they'll think you're secret.
Exactly. Thank you, Cheryl. That was silly and fun.
Thank you. That was fun.
So we were a couple of hermits who were meeting to catch up, to talk about how we avoid people at all costs.
Living in the Central Park.
I loved that.
There.
I love that. Especially now, like in the time of like that we've just gone through in this past year. Like I'm not going to be like out hugging people when I'm vaccinated, but I'm definitely going to go places and be like, oh, people. So to be a character that's like, I don't want that. I'm like, no, this is so against where I am right now.
Now I am dying to sit at a bar and be served a drink. Yes.
Yeah, that someone posted on Facebook, like what's one thing that you didn't think you'd ever miss? And I'm like, I just sitting at a bar or a coffee shop. Those are two things that I miss immensely. Yeah. So uh, before we take off, so we did a show together. So this is our first time really improvising together, which was it was so easy to improvise with you. You're so giving and so supportive.
Thanks. As our that was fun. I want to do more now.
Yeah, you'll definitely have to come back because you we need to get you a different partner so you can play with somebody else. I'm because normally I'm just the guy who sits back and watches people play. Um, so I'm sad that Margaret wasn't able to make it. So we'll definitely get Margaret rescheduled. But I'm also glad because now I got to play with you, which was a really good time.
Yay! Serendipity.
I don't know. I felt like in that scene we just everything that was thrown out because I know like sometimes improvisers can do. We talk about acceptance. We talk about saying yes. I loved in that scene that no matter what we threw at each other, it was like, oh, you're doing this? Yeah, absolutely. That's the best thing in the world. Of course it is. It's great. And it was still a fun, engaging scene that didn't have conflict. Do you have any thoughts on that concept of conflict in an improv scene?
I mean, conflict is one of those things, right? Where it's funny. I was thinking about it today and thinking about when I was doing musical improv. And, there's, in thinking about sort of song structures and I was always told, don't start with conflict, don't start with conflict. But in my mind, it was like, no, the bridge is where the conflict gets worked out, right? Starting with it, then we get to the bridge and we'll work it out there, and then the rest of it will be happy and all that stuff. I think you needed it in some scenes. You need it. I know I've faced where it's been solved much too quickly. No conflict. It was just like, oh, okay, we need to find a wrench here. We need to find a wrench, and so I think, but it's nice also to have scenes that don't, where you're just sort of talking about yourselves, talking about life and how as people you're figuring out the conflicts in your life, not necessarily between the two people in the scene.
Well, yeah, hell yeah, I love that. I love that take on it. Because yeah, I've seen you improvise as a teacher. I see a lot of younger students in improv will be in that moment at the beginning of a scene where they don't have something between them that's a conflict, and something will be invented because like, oh, we need something because we can't have a scene where we're not arguing about something. But then you can get to that opportunity to coach it back. Go, just stay in that. That's enough. You're going to find a relationship that's going to come out of that. So yeah, it was just nice to have that scene where we didn't. At no point did I feel like, oh, we need something else. I'm like, oh, this dynamic is enough.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not always that way.
No.
I've literally thrown a tsunami in just to have a conflict. Like, don't we have enough here already?
This scene's not going. Oh, look, a wave. Oh God.
Okay. Exactly. So yeah, talk about oak tree for a minute.
Yeah, let's talk about Oak Tree. So, for out there watching, Cheryl, I was in a play called An Oak Tree, where I played a hypnotist, and Cheryl was one of the guest artists in that show. Basically, I knew the whole story, and I guided Cheryl through the story. She was my co-actor in the show, who knew nothing about the script other than I'm going to tell you what to do and hand you stuff, and you just have to do it. And we kind of briefly talked about it after we did it. But we never really dove deep into it. So I'd love to get a little bit of your thoughts on it now that we're like almost a year removed, more than a year removed from when we did it.
We should have a Zoom with everyone actually to do that. Yeah, that's one of those experiences that you wish you could have again, but you can't because of the nature of the piece, right? Like there are scripted shows that you can do, time and time again, and someone may have a different directorial take on it, but that's a show that you can't because you already know what the structure is. It was so cool to me to do it because you had all the control, and I just had, except the only control you didn't have was how I was going to deal with whatever you gave me, and so that's what you had to play with, right? With any of us that did it. And it was really cool to sort of be like, I'm just going to sit here and have things happen to me and do. interpret doing it however I want. And it was the dynamic there was really cool. I was really like, all right, I'm just going to give myself over to this, which not everyone can do. You know, one role, I mean, want to be controlled, but I think that's where it brought. All right, I'm just going to trust this person that I know very little about. Just and had 10 minutes to talk about how this is like. Okay, there's going to be a thing in my ear, and I'm going to listen to stuff that's going to hand me a script at different points. So yeah, that was a definite highlight. Loved.
Yeah, I loved doing that show, and I remember specifically that when you came in, we knew each other, but barely, because we'd only worked together for a couple of months at that point. And I remember you made a choice right in I want to say it was in like the second scene where you were delivering lines, and you did it in a way that had, like, up to that point, even the rehearsals, everyone had kind of done it similarly. I can't remember the exact line, but it was you made a different choice, and I remember going, oh, like in my body, I remember being like, oh, this is it. This is different. This is going to have a different dynamic, and that's one thing I loved that so much. And I loved every performance, even the ones that had similar feels to it were still great because every actor brought so much to it. But I remember yours, you did something very specific that was different than everything else up to that point, and I was like, oh, here we go.
Hey, well, that's good to hear. Yeah, I wish I had seen more of the others. I mean, I got to see Margaret Ann. I think I could have seen John's name. But yeah, like knowing that these are going on and you just, I can't see any.
Yeah. I was telling my wife, I'm like, I want to do it again. Like, as the hypnotist, I want to do it again. Because I think in that role, you can do it again. Or you could play the hypnotist now because you've done the show, which would be a very fun. I would love to see people who have done the other role then take on the role of the hypnotist. That would be a very interesting flow of a show.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought about it recently, and things to do when we come out of this, and what doing more co-ops things with people can do smaller stuff. It would be very cool to do.
Yeah. Awesome. Cheryl, thank you so much for being my guest tonight and for playing with me tonight. I had so much fun playing with you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. This was great fun. It's been a while.
Yeah.
This was a lot.
Nice. All right, everyone. Thank you all for coming and watching the show. Remember, we are here every week, every Sunday at 7. So come check out next week. You never know who's going to be here. It'll be a lot of fun. And stick around because at 8 o'clock on this channel, there's a show called Glitty Litter. Definitely don't want to miss it. Improv, trivia, all sorts of crazy stuff happening in the show. Please stick around and watch it. Cheryl, thank you for being here. And everyone else, thank you for coming.